Hey folks, welcome back. I want to give you some input for Bitwig Studio 6 and how you can use or utilize the new global scale feature here for creating some interesting sequences, okay? So what we want to do here in Bitwig 6 is we want to increase here maybe the BPM to 125, and we want to create here a kick drum. We use V0 because I like it for some reason. Maybe make this 1 bar long. So we have already a nice kick drum. We don't need the audio track here. We use a new instrument track. We want to create here maybe a clap. So I use here V1 clap. Yeah, this one. It's pretty cool. So we just clone here this one. And we put the clap here. I don't know if this makes sense. Yeah, this makes sense. Okay. Then we use V8 heads. Also here, very short loop, just this one. And we also want to use here different velocity settings, something like this. And we use, of course, the expression settings here. And we use the velocity to increase the decay time here of the hi-hats. Right, something like this. And maybe also increase here the noise. I think this is better. Maybe here the clap sound goes a bit quieter, maybe -5. That's okay. On the master we put a peak limiter, just to make sure. And we put here the kick, the clap and the hi-hat we put into a group. So we use Control and G. And we just call this drums. And we want to close it down. So these are the drums for now. Also peak limiter on the bass. Cool. So we want to create now here a bass sound. So we use a polymer, and this polymer is monophonic. So I pull down here the voices from 12 to mono. That's very important because we have a lot of arpeggiated sounds, and we don't want to leak one of the notes with the tail into the new notes. So we create here a note clip, and with this note clip we just put one note in there, one long note like this. And we maybe, instead of pulling this up and down, we just use a note transpose here. So we utilize a lot of note FX basically to transform the MIDI notes coming from the clip here. So it's just one note on the root note, and we probably want to dial in here also the scale, which is E flat minor. So we are on E flat here. This is the root note, and yeah, it doesn't give us anything. So we want to create the bass, so we probably go down here 2 semitones. Let me see how this sounds. Yeah, this is a bass sound, and we want to arpeggiate this. So we use an arpeggiator here. And we use a very short sequence, let's say 3 steps, and the last step goes maybe up 4 semitones, and we use here the global scale feature, so it always lands on a scale note of E flat minor, right? So we use the global scale here, we just dial in. And we probably want to use saw, and we open up here the filter. And we also want to maybe use the loop feature here. I don't know why this doesn't go back here to the beginning, but I guess that's how it is. So maybe here in the FX box we want to use a filter plus, and we increase here the saturation, and maybe at the end we use a peak limiter. So let me see, maybe we just use a bass like this. Yeah, we use here also the envelope from the filter for the filter in the Node FX box or in the FX box. That's cool. We also want to use here some ducking. So we use an audio sidechain, and we bring in here the kick drum, the post. So this is the kick drum, and we use the kick drum to duck here basically the volume of the synthesizer. So we have a reduction in volume. Maybe we can use the velocity here. Yeah, let's dial in different velocities. So here's high velocity, low velocity, but we don't want to change the volume of the bass. So we use here this velocity sensitivity slider and pull this down to 0, which means there's no influence from the velocity to the loudness of the sound. But we still receive here the expressions a signal for velocity, and we use this then maybe to open up here the filter maybe a bit more. So this velocity setting here opens up the filter, so we can control the filter with the velocity steps instead of the loudness. I hope this makes sense. We can maybe also, can we do something a bit more interesting? I just trying to figure out here, maybe, yeah, maybe use a second arpeggiator here. This doesn't work, but maybe we switch this here to, let me see, can we actually change this here to something else? No, there's no advance. Okay, we just leave it at that, it's okay. So this is the bass, call this bass, and then we maybe use melody, or actually polymer first. We call this melody. And we do the same trick here, we just pull this down. We have the same note in here, so we use a note transpose again. And we leave this here, this is -2 because it's a bass. This is maybe -1. And then also an arp here. Also use the global scale. Maybe you have to go to 0 here, it's probably better. And then we paint in some offsets, and because we have here the global scale feature enabled, this always lands on a scale note, right? Maybe use a convolution and a bit of delay. Maybe we use unison here, 60 voices. So now the interesting part is we can put this here into a layer with using Control and G, and use just 2 arpeggiators if we want to. So we use here another one. We could just duplicate this, but I want to use here a different one. So here I use, instead of 16 notes, I use 8 notes. And go up maybe 5, 7, just use 3, and also note transpose, and push everything here just 1 octave higher, right? So this is this octave here, 0, and then this is +1. Then we can pull down here the velocity on this layer, or maybe on this one too. then we can say we want to use a channel map. So we receive notes here from this note clip, which is channel 1, right? So we can say channel 1 goes into this layer and also this layer, but here we want to use channel 1 and put it on channel 2. So we just map channel 1 to channel 2, but only on this layer, on the second layer, right? So when we disable this here, so this layer goes to channel 2, and this layer here goes still to channel 1. So we can decide what to do with these channels on the device itself. So we can use a channel map or channel 16 here. You can see we receive two median or two channels here, 1 and 2 of course. So with channel 2, we want to change maybe the index of the wavetable to a different position. Or maybe open up the filter a bit more. And we also enable here, of course, the global scale feature. So with this, we don't need to use this here. So with this, we can now change also here the notes to different positions inside of the note clip. So maybe make this a bit longer here. Here we go to different positions. Let's see how this sounds. We don't need to do that. It's okay, just to stick to one note. Also here we can just clone this one, paste, and just duck here this melody. Okay, so this is some kind of ARP melody, or however you want to call it. Another idea is we can just take here again this thing, use transpose, no transpose, +1 maybe, again polymer synthesizer, just solo this, and we use a repeater, note repeats. And then we use a quantizer to actually quantize all the outgoing notes here to the beat grid, which is a 16-note grid. So just quantizing this gives you nice rhythms. We can maybe use a randomizer here, this device, and we can also use the global scale and just randomize the pitch. So it's more like a pad sound. Maybe humanize and chance. So the note is not played all the time. Pad. So yeah, I would use sometimes just one note and then apply a lot of note FX, and because we have now this global scale feature here, you can play around with all the offsets, also using here multiple layers and polyrhythms. You can even try to use again here, what's the name, stepwise. I haven't used actually this in a while. This one here, play some different notes, then, you know, use a quantizer on it. What's the name? Key filter plus now. This one, bring it back to the scale. So a lot of devices actually benefit from this global scale feature because you can quantize everything to the scale, and you can go crazy with modulations on arpeggiators, on transposers, on these randomizers here. This one was pretty useless before, I would say, because you just get random pitch sounds, and then you had to use the key filter probably after that to constrain it to a scale. But now this is here included. You can just use randomize without the key filter and just go crazy and get some random pitch sounds. You can record everything then to a new instrument track. So a lot of new possibilities there. So instead, next time that you go into the note clip here and paint notes and try to find a nice melody and paint stuff in, which is always not, in my opinion, it's not good. Melodies you have to play on the keyboard, in my opinion. You have to play on the keyboard, or you get some accidents here with these note effects. But painting in notes, it always leads to the same results, in my opinion, if you ask me. Maybe it's different for you, but I always try to find ways out of my usual muscle memory workflows. And this is a great way of doing this, if you ask me. Just modulating stuff and then using the the global note scale feature to quantize everything to a scale. So it's pretty dope to have this for this type of workflow, generative music or idea finding and so on. So that's my take on it. Maybe if you want to see more of this stuff, let me know. There are so many things you can do actually with this. So this is just the beginning. I hope everything was clear. I wasn't too fast, but I also tried to make it a bit fast so people are not getting bored, right? Let me know what you think. Leave a thumbs up, leave a subscription, and see you in the next video. Bye.